Sure thing. First of all, welcome. I have to touch that screen there. Welcome to our parent meeting. I have just, it's still going on, but I've just been listening in the next room to Pinellas County Schools open family meeting that's going on tonight on Facebook Live. If you weren't able to watch that, they said they are recording that meeting, so you will be able to go back on the Pinellas County Schools Facebook page and watch that Facebook Live video back. They're giving a lot of information from the district level, but I also felt that it was very important for us as a school to communicate with our parents directly about the options that are available for you as parents, and to talk about some of the things that we're putting in place and what school might look like at Dunedin Highland Middle School for your child in the fall, whichever option they choose. So I thank you all for coming out. We had one of these meetings this morning at 11, and it was well attended, and I'm glad to hear. I keep hearing the bell going off, meaning someone's coming in. So that's great that we're having people join us for this meeting. Couple things just to frame things as we get started. You're going to see a presentation on all three of the options available to you, but there were some things that I wanted people to understand about all of the options and what applies to all of the options. First of all, Pinellas County Schools, if you did not hear last night, has made a proposal to the school board that will be voted on Tuesday to push back the start date to August 24th, which is essentially pushing things back about 2 weeks. So that is on the table. It sounds like that will probably get passed on Tuesday. The superintendent is making that recommendation. So knowing that, we have a little bit more time for everyone, and we will be able to use that time to continue to flesh out our plans for a return to school. Second thing is that the district has purchased 42,000 laptops, and all students in middle school, particularly in our 3 grades that we cover, will have one-to-one laptop devices, new devices. Students that have devices from the spring may hold on to them for now, because we may not have them on the first day of school. However, we will have them shortly after the school year starts, and so we want to make sure that no one has a loss of service with their laptops. So you will be getting new ones. All students will have them, and regardless of their option, they will be using them whether they are on campus or off campus. So that is wonderful news. What I'd like to do, we introduced in the beginning our other assistant principals that are here with us. I see Ms. Dolan is here, 6th grade assistant principal. Mr. Forbes is also on the line, 7th grade assistant principal and the Center for Gifted Studies coordinator. I only have 4 people on my screen, so I can't see if Ms. Watson's here, our 8th grade assistant. She is. All right, wonderful. Ms. Watson, thank you for joining us too. So we're all here to answer your questions, but we're going to start with Ms. Dolan. She's put together a brief presentation to kind of review the 3 options that are available. And then once we get through the options, we will start taking some questions. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Ms. Dolan, and thank you, parents, for coming out tonight.
All right. Well, as Mr. Vasalis said, we don't have all the answers, but we're going to give you what we can. He already introduced who we are. If we don't have an answer and you ask a question, please know that we are reaching out to the district. We are asking as many questions as we can so we can provide you guys with the most up-to-date information. Our goals this evening are to explain all 3 of your options to you to the best of our ability, and then we'll take some time at the end to answer any questions that you still have, and hopefully get you guys set so you can make that decision, because we do understand that this is an unprecedentedly difficult decision for you guys to make that impacts not just your children, but your entire family. So we're trying our best to help you at least have the information you need to make that choice. So let's start by talking about face-to-face instruction. So if your students choose to come on campus, we will be open when we can be. There will most likely be times, depending on what happens, we're going to have a delayed start. So right off the bat, you won't be on campus, but we are going to do everything we can to keep your children safe when they are here. We will be open 5 days a week for your children, just like the normal. They will attend 7 classes every single day, have class changes, have lunch. So all of those things are going to stay the same for them when they come on campus. One thing that is changing is that all of our hallways and our stairwells are going to be one way. We're going to try to reduce the amount of time students spend passing each other. So we've created a one-way system in every single hallway to try to help with that. We have spread out all of the desks based on the guidelines that we've been given by the school board. They were looking at CDC and health official guidelines. They actually had some doctors came into the schools and kind of helped make some determinations for the best way to spread those desks out to provide as much space as possible for your children to be safe while they're on campus. Social distancing will be the norm, whether it's outside or inside. We are going to help encourage our students and keep them as spaced out as possible, and as much as humanly possible, we will give them that room, even in the cafeteria. In a moment, you'll see a video where you'll kind of get to see a little bit of what that actually looks like. Masks are going to be required for all students from the moment they get out of a car, off a bus, or pull up onto school campus, either walking or riding their bikes. Their masks need to be on, and their masks will be worn, with the exception of while they're eating in the cafeteria for lunch or breakfast. And we are going to work on scheduling mask breaks during the day, because we know it can be a little bit exhausting having that mask on. So we're working on figuring out what that's going to look like at the school. We don't know yet, but we're working on it. It's at the top of our agenda. We're going to do everything we can as far as arrival and dismissal to make sure that we don't have those pinch points of students as they come on campus, as they exit campus. We've been having conversations around what kind of changes do we need to make as far as staggering students entering the building, staggering students leaving the building, so that we don't have a whole bunch of kids crowded around any of the exit points or entrance points to the school. As for lunches, we are going to go to 4 lunches this fall. To try to minimize the number of students in the cafeteria. All of the seats are going to face the same direction. There will be 2 students to a bench, and we have the entire cafeteria spread out so that our students can maintain that maximum social distance while they have an opportunity to eat lunch. As for clubs, we are going to move as many of our clubs as possible online so that students can still participate in them, but in that safer, more distant environment that the online brings. If students choose face-to-face instruction, we will have opportunities for them to get face-to-face tutoring, most likely spread out and in the media center, but students will have an opportunity to continue working with the teacher. If they choose the online option, we are still going to be offering tutoring for our online students, but that will be in that virtual setting. So the next thing that's going to come up is just a short 2-minute video. We do have our club running on our campus, and some of those students and their parents were generous enough to allow us to use some of their time so that we could make this video and kind of give you an idea of what we have set up for your students if they come on campus.
As we prepare to receive students back on campus, we wanted to take a moment and let you know some of what to expect this fall. School will look and feel a bit different when you return, as we've put some measures in place to help protect our students and staff. For instance, all students will be required to wear masks from the moment they arrive on campus to the moment they leave, though we will be working to build in mask breaks throughout the day, including while students are eating lunch. Even outdoors, we will require both that students practice social distancing and wear their masks. All our hallways, entrances, and stairwells have been labeled for one-way traffic. Signs like these will be posted to help students remember which way to go. Students will go immediately to classes, as we will not have lockers this year, and students will not be able to group together in the hallways as we work to maintain our social distance when they move from class to class. Inside our classrooms, desks have been arranged to maximize the distance between our students. Even as they exit, it is our goal to make sure students maintain this distance as we dismiss them by row and limit the chances of them passing each other on the way out. Lunchtime will also look different for our students. When entering the cafeteria, they will be directed into the lunch line, where they will maintain their 6 feet of social distancing as they choose between the day's hot meal, a salad, or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If they bring their lunch, they will be sent directly to their seats. There will be 2 students to a bench, separated by 6 feet, and students will all be facing the same direction. We will fill the cafeteria up from back to front as students enter, and students will then exit the same way, minimizing their contact with others. As you can see, Dunedin Highland Middle School takes the health and safety of our students and staff seriously. We are working with the district under the guidance of local health officials and the CDC to minimize the risk to our students and staff.
So as you can see, we've put a lot of measures in place to try to help our students and help them stay safe and keep you guys safe and keep our staff safe. So the first of the two online options that you have is the My PCS online option. And that's the option that's going to keep your kids at our school enrolled, working with our teachers, so that when eventually, hopefully, we do come back on campus full time and all of our kids feel safe in doing so, they'll have teachers that they already know because they'll be working with those same teachers. It will be 5 days a week. It will be 7 periods a day. It's the same schedule as face-to-face every day, every period. They will log in starting at that 9:40, that same start time that we have on campus will be their start time online. They will have an opportunity to begin every class period with some direct instruction from their teacher, just like they would if they were in the classroom with that teacher. They'll then be given their assignment for the day, and the teacher will go over what to do, and also there'll be opportunities to interact with that teacher in real time. At the end of that period, if they have math first period and science second, then they'll go from their math classroom online to their science classroom online, where they'll then start that second period off with some instruction with that teacher. A lot of the feedback that we got about our spring semester was our students needed more time with their teachers. They needed more of a regular schedule. They needed a lot more consistency in that, and so we have built our fall schedule to reflect that. Like I said, there will be daily lessons with each teacher every period, and all of their work will be done in Canvas. And I'm going to take a moment in a second. We'll go on Canvas and kind of show you what that looks like. But Canvas is the platform that will be used for all online learning. Even our face-to-face teachers will have Canvas classes set up, both in case we have to fall back and all of our kids end up online because something happens and the Department of Health says you guys need to close for a little bit. That Canvas platform that they're using in the classroom will simply be what they continue using online, because we're going to try to make that as seamless as possible for the kids. Nice things about Canvas is the students are able to work together and do group work in there. It's a lot cleaner than Teams when it comes to them getting their assignments, finding the work that they need to do, and turning them in. Teachers are able to grade the assignments in Canvas, and it talks to Focus, so there's no back and forth going on there as well. And like I said, I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. However, the live lessons are going to continue to be in Teams. Canvas is a great platform. It's what almost all, or not almost all, but a lot of universities, a lot of colleges use it. SPC uses it. But what it doesn't have is that face-to-face feature like Teams and Zoom have. So that is the one thing that we're going to continue to use Teams for, because we find it's a secure place where students and teachers can interact. Students will have the ability to have their cameras on and see each other. So that's an upside for them this fall as well, is that they will get that opportunity to do that, and Teams allows for that. When you make the option to use the MyPCS, it's a quarter at a time. So you make that decision now. You have up until this coming Monday at 5 p.m. to make that choice. And then when we get closer to the end of the first quarter, you'll get prompted to decide for quarter two. We know for sure that it will be available at least through first semester, and it will really depend on what things look like at that point as to whether it will continue to be offered in the spring. So I'll take a second and I'll show you the Canvas platform. I only have one class in there right now, so your student will have all of theirs. This looks very similar to what Teams look like when they first log in, where it's got all the classes on this page. One major difference is over on the side, because it has their to-do, which will list out things that they have due this week. It kind of gives them a day by day. And the nice thing is it even has check marks next to things that they've already done. So they kind of get a feel for, when all of their classes, what do I need to do? And then anything that they've turned in that they've gotten feedback on, they can see right there. And then there's an option to view their grades, which takes them to the grade book, anything that's been graded and what they got on those assignments. It's a lot cleaner as far as the way that different pieces are posted, it's very easy to see, okay, these are the different modules, these are the assignments. They're not having to scroll through a bunch of different things that teachers have posted and maybe students have posted, those types of things, which is some of the feedback that we got about Teams. Was it was kind of hard for kids to find the work, the assignments, what exactly was due. So this is a lot cleaner for them. And like I said, it's the same thing that a lot of colleges use and have found to be quite successful. There's even places where they can click on to get to some of the different programs that they use, any quizzes that they have. So you can see, and the nice thing is that the teachers are able to create group assignments in here as well, so they can assign more than one child to an assignment to get it completed, so that they can continue to collaborate and work together using this platform. Okay. So that's the My PCS option. This is if you want your child to stay at Dunedin, if they're in the gifted program, something like that, where you want them to stay there, My PCS is the one of the two online options that allows for that. Now, the other option is Pinella's Virtual School, and Pinella's Virtual School is another school in our county. It's been around for quite a few years. Just like the gifted program, just like a lot of the high school programs, it's an application program. So you would lose your seat at the one school, and it's based on enrollment, whether you come back when you do make that decision. The thing with Pinella's Virtual that's really important is if your child did great during the final quarter, with the 2 assignments posted at the beginning of the week, they had all week to complete them, and they did well with that. If they read English on grade level and they're great at time management, then Pinella's Virtual is a viable option for you. It's a complete semester that the students would need to do, because in order to get credit for Pinella's Virtual, they need to finish 100% of the coursework for that class by the time that the semester is over and have a passing grade. That's how Pinella's Virtual operates. It's completely self-paced. So this is, like I said, if your student did wonderfully well with the last quarter and the way that was set up, Pinella's Virtual does offer that model for you, where the My PCS option that keeps you at Dunedin is very structured. It's meeting with your teacher every period, every day. And the Pinella's Virtual option is, as long as you get your work done by the end of the week, 2 assignments per class per week. They give them a pacing guide. The kids kind of plan out what they're going to do when, and they need to do the reading and get the work done. All right. And I believe, Mr. V, what to do when you make your decision. So once you've decided between the 3 options, what you need to do is go to reservation.pcsb.org. You log in with that P. username. It's the same thing that you use to log into Focus to check your children's grades, and it'll prompt you what to do to make that decision. If you don't know your username and password, feel free to give us a call tomorrow. We'll happily help you with that. Or you can stay once the meeting is over. We'll take your information. We'll help you get that taken care of. Keep in mind that if you make a decision now and you have a discussion with your family this weekend, or something happens and you need to change that decision, you do have until 5 p.m. on Monday to either go into the system and make that change, or give us a call and we can help that happen for you. All right, your turn, Mr. Vasala.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Dolan, for a very comprehensive look. One of the things that I talked to the team about was to make sure that we can try to show parents what this is going to look like, because there is so much unknown. What is face-to-face going to look like? What is this new Canvas going to look like? And so those were some brief snippets of what things are going to look like. And I wanted you to be able to have that visual to help you with your decision-making. One of the things in the plan is a statement that if a parent doesn't make a choice, they will default to face-to-face, which is true. And we know that we have parents that will do that. But I'm asking, please, we've already heard from some parents who said, well, I'm going to do face-to-face, so I'm just not even going to bother to select it because I just want it to go and to face-to-face. I don't bother to log in. But we really would like you to make that choice, because right now we're game planning every day, every moment of every day. We're game planning what we're doing. And so much of what's going to happen in the decisions we're making will be dependent upon how many students are face-to-face and how many students are online. And in fact, we're making plans already for probably tomorrow and Monday to be making a lot of cold calls to families that have not yet responded to make sure they know about the options and make sure that they make a choice by the deadline on Monday, because we need to have as viable information as possible to make the choices. A lot of the questions that are coming up are dependent on the results of the parent selections. So the quicker we have that information, the more information we'll be able to share with you about what exactly things will look like. A couple things that are in adjustment. First of all, I want to thank my administrative team because they've been off the clock since the middle of June until this week, but they've been available at the drop of a hat, and we've been trying to game plan even with the early on CDC guidelines to come up with some ideas of what school is going to look like. And then once we started to see the school board plan starting to mold and adjust those and tweak those plans to fit with the district plan as well. And we're going to be continuing to do that. Also, our teachers have been offline since the end of May. So really, as they are starting to come back on after their summer, we're trying to get input from them as well. And a lot of the decisions that are made are also going to be dependent on the teachers union making negotiations with the district about the course loads and their responsibilities as we return. So there are a lot of moving parts, and we're trying to keep them all together and give you all a communication that's as clear as possible. One thing I did this summer was I took the supply lists off of our website temporarily. One thing that is in the CDC guidelines is there are going to be some issues with sharing materials. Also, with students having a laptop, each student having a laptop, it will be changing the way we do a lot of things. As you heard in some of the district literature, we will not have lockers. So we're going to ask students to carry backpacks. And those of you that have been with us know that's a complete change because we were not allowing backpacks. So we will be allowing backpacks. And in fact, we would encourage you to look for a backpack that would have a pocket to support a laptop, because the students will likely be bringing the laptops back and forth if they're attending face-to-face school. So we are working with the teachers this week, and we're going to be working on the supply list. The ones that were up were large, and they were quite comprehensive. And I need the teachers to understand that students are only going to be able to carry what's in their backpack. So we need to pare down those supply lists. I know everybody wants to know what to shop for supplies, because I was in Target to get some necessities the other day, and I saw the big displays for school supplies and all the stacks of folders and paper. And I want to make sure that we have that information to parents as soon as possible, but I don't want to force parents to necessarily overbuy for materials that their students won't be able to use with the new guidelines. Also, I've been hearing from parents about our orientation. The sixth grade parents, when we met with them in March at our sixth grade orientation, we did have some save the dates for some orientation days next week. And in my phone call last night, I did express that we are moving those dates. We do have a little bit more time, first of all, because we will be moving back to the start date of school, but we're also looking at the format of those. They will likely move to an online format as opposed to a face-to-face, because to allow students and parents on campus, we would probably have to break it up into about 10 or 15 sessions, and just having the manpower and the time to do that won't be as feasible. So we're looking at some online options for orientation, and we'll communicate those dates as soon as we have them. The Canvas will be the exclusive driver of our MyPCS Online, but all of our students in face-to-face will have a laptop and will be working on Canvas as well. One of the things the superintendent addressed in the school board meeting that he held last week was that he wanted the district and our teachers to be able to pivot. In March, things changed. The virus came. There was a lot of unknown, and we had to move to online very quickly. And he wants us to be able to move very quickly to an online environment if the need arises, if there's another spike in numbers, or if there are issues where they have to close schools. They want to be able to move to online more seamlessly. So Canvas will be something that all students will be engaging in, and it'll give us the flexibility. I think it's also a great tool, because if your student is absent or your student is going out of town, they will have the access to be able to log into Canvas and be a part of class even when they're absent, and they won't be needing as much, it won't be as dependent on making up work when they return. A big question that we are getting is about teacher assignment, and that is one of the pieces that is very much going to be determined on Monday night. While the parents are making their decisions, the teachers are also sending in notification to HR and to the principals about their preference for working online versus working face-to-face. So we're going to be scrambling starting next week to put together and create some combinations of teachers that'll be online and virtual. I know there's been a big concern from the gifted parents in the Center for Gifted Studies about whether or not their students will be taught by our gifted teachers. I will tell you that the education plans for our gifted students say that they must have full-time gifted instruction with gifted certified teachers and gifted students in their classrooms. And we are honoring those EPs. So regardless of how things shake out, they will have a gifted certified teacher and be in a class with gifted learners, whether they're online or face-to-face. Now, how that all works out and shakes out, I am not as sure, because we're going to have to see how the numbers break down. But I will tell you that as the principal, I feel it is most important that our teachers are teaching our students. So wherever possible, I will be making that decision and making sure that when we have the option, we will have our teachers teaching our students in the environments in which they have signed up for, to the best of our ability. That's that. Now, with saying that, there may be some exceptions. There may be some teachers who cannot teach face-to-face due to some pre-existing medical conditions. There might be some courses that only a few students select as face-to-face or virtual. And so then decisions might have to be made. But overall, I'm looking to try to make sure that we have our students with our teachers. And
I'm sorry, but that's as long as they don't choose Penella's virtual, because then they won't be our students anymore. And I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. If you choose Pinellas Virtual School, you are no longer a Dunedin Middle School student. And for students that live in our zone, it might be easier to come back from Pinellas Virtual after the semester, because we do have space in our traditional program. But our Center for Gifted Studies currently has waiting lists for all 3 grade levels. So if you choose Pinellas Virtual School, we will be able to call someone off of the wait list to come into the Center for Gifted Studies, and you'd be giving up your seat if you are a gifted studies student. So that's an important point. With that being said, I think that's all of our talking points. So I thought I saw some questions popping up in the chat. I don't know if Mr. Forbes
Yes,
or
sir.
Ms. Watson or anybody can monitor that.
I had been monitoring, yes, sir, and I'll read you the first question. It just says, if a student's struggling with the mask the first week, are they allowed to switch to the second option, the MyPCS option, instead?
And I think that is a concern. I've noticed with my own children, they've been very much quarantined, and you know, they haven't had a lot of practice going out and wearing masks. You know, my wife and I have been the ones going out to the grocery store and things like that. So mask stamina will be probably an issue. Where possible, we will try our best to accommodate changes in the plan. We are asking for a 9-week commitment, but we know that things may change. Part of that is part of the reason I wanted to show the video of what school's going to look like, is because I want parents to see what the traditional education is going to look like. The students are going to be spread out in the classrooms, that in the lunchroom they might not be facing their friends, that it is going to look very different than it did back when we left in March. So that being said, I think that, you know, it again will be a numbers game. If we are at a point where we have everyone socially distanced on campus, and now we have students that want to come back, we might not be able to allow them back, because then it would throw us out of balance with distancing our classes and our lunches. On the flip side, if we have our teachers maxed out with their classes that they're teaching online, and they have all of the learners that they can fit in there, there might not be room to put you in the online section. You might have to stay in the face-to-face. So we're trying to get you as much information so you can make that decision. If there is an extenuating circumstance, we will hear it out, and based on the numbers, we'll make the best decision we can for you.
And then our next question that came up, can you elaborate a little further, Ms. Dolan? You may be able to speak to this a little further on the Friday schedule for the MyPCS online option.
So one of the things with the MyPCS online option is that we still want to honor our students' ability to get their small group, if they're ESE, if they're ESOL, if they have a 504. So the county is looking at making Friday the day to give those small group instructions. So that's the only day. So Monday to Thursday, students' attendance, even in the online program, is going to be based on their showing up in the class on time. Attendance will be taken in that first 10 minutes. Friday is the day. On Thursday, the teachers will take the extra time to say, okay, this is the assignment that you have due by the end of day tomorrow. And so Friday is the day that gives a little bit more flexibility to our students. They can, as long as they log in and do work for each of their classes and they turn in those assignments by the end of the day, they will be marked present, unlike Monday to Thursday, where it's you need to be in your class on time based on the schedule that you're given. Does that answer the question?
I'll see if they add anything to that chat. Our next question, actually, there's 3 here. How will students be trained to use Canvas? How will laptops be issued? And is there anything we can do to help our students be academically ready for their grade?
Okay, so I can speak to a little bit of that. As far as training on Canvas, we are going to post some trainings and the district is already working on posting some trainings for our students. Just like when we move to Teams, teachers will take some time and help their students navigate around that. Students are already very comfortable with Teams, so there'll be opportunities where the teachers will log into Canvas, sharing their screens and kind of walk the students through where to go. Canvas is a much easier platform to use. I gave it to one of my kids and said, hey, try this out and see what you think. And there was just it was a very easy transition from Teams to Canvas for them. Second question was laptops. As soon as we know when we're going to get those laptops in, we are going to develop a process to make sure that we get those in the hands of those students. If, however, you need a laptop because you have 2 children in the home and the district provided you 1 laptop this spring and you choose My PCS for both students, please give us a call. We will schedule something with you. We'll make sure that you get a laptop so they can start the year off with one. If there's an issue with your laptop, we are going to continue to support those things as well. And I don't remember what the third question was.
No problem. Third question is, really, is there anything we can do to help our students be academically ready for their grade?
So there are some great online programs. If they log into Canvas, one of the ones I would recommend for math, if math is an area where they either want to bolster or they struggle, IXL is a great resource. It gives instantaneous feedback so they can practice, get some skills ready there, and they can access that through Canvas. There's also Clever. Sorry, Clever. I'm saying Canvas. There's also Newsy LA where they can read some articles and do some practice questions. There's several different resources in there. Discovery is a great science resource. If they have any interest in science, I would get them in there because it'll have them doing some reading on something that they're interested in. If they're going into civics, iCivics is a great program. Is there another good one for civics that's in Clever, Mr. Forbes?
I believe
social
Civics
studies?
360 is in there as well. And Civics 360 is a very good resource for that as well.
Okay. So just have them log into Clever and go under the educational resources and have them pick anything they're interested in. BrainPop does a wonderful job of providing, if they're more visual and they want to watch some videos, BrainPop does a great job of providing some videos and then giving them targeted questions to ask. So it gets them thinking about what they're watching. And that's really the whole point, is we want our kids to be able to think for themselves.
So our next question, if my child was struggling at the end of last year, will there be additional courses that he could take to make up so that he wouldn't be left behind?
So, well, right off the bat, at the beginning of the year, we will be doing some diagnostic testing. That is a big concern nationwide after schools closed across the nation, is what they're calling the COVID slide, where they feel students may have fallen behind. However, we can't assume that every student has fallen behind because some might still be on grade level or ahead of grade level, and we don't want to necessarily slow those students down either. So we will be doing some diagnostic testing, particularly with reading right off the bat, to place students and then create supports for the students to meet them where they are and still focus on the grade level standards, because this year, as it stands, we are scheduled to resume state assessments. So that will continue, and we want to make sure our students are ready.
And I will tell you that in the math curriculum, they've actually mapped out the first 2 weeks specifically for remediation. So they'll do those diagnostics. And then that first couple of weeks is, let's remind you of the things that you learned last year and kind of make sure that you at least have a beginning grasp. The really great thing with the way that most of the middle school standards work is every single class spirals. So what they learned the previous year, they're going to be reminded of and then built upon for this year. And our teachers are really, really good at doing that, that spiraling of, remember you learned this last year. Oh, you don't remember how to do that here. Let me give it to you in this context, and then I'll build on that and help you grow up to that next level. And I know math and science and language arts all have those standards built in.
And also going with one-to-one devices, students will have access to Clever 24/7 from home, where all of those resources we were talking about, IXL, Civics 360, will be available for them to use. And then also we will continue having our extended learning program, which last year ran before school. And we're looking at ways that we can have it for the face-to-face students and also virtually. So those will be more resources as well.
So next question, specific to transportation, when will we know bus transportation? I'm assuming assignments and stuff like that. And this is a valid question that I don't know that we as administrative team have really thought about, that I think we need to consider. If the student has to wear the mask on the bus, which they do, we know they do, and then go directly to class, will they get a mask break before the first class?
Well, if they're going to breakfast, I think they'll get a natural mask break,
Correct.
because you do have to remove the mask to eat. So and the transportation is always pretty good about making sure our students get to school in enough time to make it to the cafeteria and back. And even if the bus is late, we still allow them to go to get breakfast. So that should be built in already. As far as bus assignments, that comes via snail mail. So that will be a yellow postcard. You have to look at it in the physical mailbox. So that it still comes that way. And regardless of whether your student rode a bus last year or not, they will receive a bus assignment, and that way you can make the decision on transportation for your student.
Unless they're in that 2 miles.
Unless you're within 2 miles
Correct.
of the campus, that is correct. But that this time of year is usually when those come out. But because it's snail mail, I can't guarantee what day to look for it in your mailbox, but it should be very soon.
And then next question is, what is the teacher strike that's in the news, and how will that affect our school?
Well, there is no teacher strike, and in the state of Florida, the teachers are the unions are associations. By law, they're not allowed to strike. So there is no teacher strike. I understand that the state teachers union is involved in a lawsuit with state government. That's going to play out however it's going to play out. I have no control over that. Right now, we're working with preparing our teachers for coming back. At this point. Monday we'll know what their choices are. I haven't seen a mass exodus at this point of any teachers leaving the profession at our particular school, but that can happen at any time. A teacher can we had a teacher resign in the middle of the year last year, so it can happen at any time. But I'm not seeing anyone. I'm not seeing a mass exodus at this time. So we're fully staffed, and we're at this point we're ready to go with classes.
Next question, specific to any summer reading books for gifted 6th grade students. I'm not aware of anything specific that they have to have, but anytime we can get kids obviously engaged in reading, we want to do that.
Right.
The Florida Sunshine Standards.
Battle of the Books
Battle of the
are a
Books
great
books. There you go.
choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, we do not have any specific reading lists this summer. There's been a lot of question and upheaval as to what school's going to look like. So we did not have any summer assignments posted for this summer.
And 6th graders coming in will have their elementary school laptop. Is that okay for them to use? Yes.
Absolutely.
In the My PCS online option, will the students have band?
Yes. All of our electives are scheduled to run. Of course, they will look different in a band class. All 3 of my sons are band students. In a band class, it won't be 40 students blowing wind through instruments like it usually is, because that's not exactly safe. It will look very different, but we will have band class, we will have art, we will have technology, we will have our elective options. One elective option unrelated to COVID that we're working on offering is theater. It's always challenging to make sure you have your electives in line. There are factors of how many students requested, whether or not you have a teacher that's certified for the course, and how many teaching units you have as a school. This afternoon, Mr. Forbes and I were in a meeting today about trying to make sure we retain that position, but right now we may not have that position, and I know some students selected that, so we will be looking at some other elective options if we're not able to secure the theater position for the coming year.
But we're trying.
We're trying. Believe me, I'm trying.
Definitely try.
It's a passion of mine. It's something that I've wanted at Dunedin Middle. We haven't had it in the 3 years that I've been there, and I want to make it happen. So I'm doing everything I can to make that happen.
So our next question is, will the principal and vice principal be in attendance every day? Will security also be there? And if a child doesn't attend breakfast and is on the bus, then will we consider a mask break at that point?
Okay, so taking the first question, I will probably be there more than I was last year, because almost once a week I was called out of the building for various meetings, and those meetings will be happening virtually. So I will be there, health willing, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. And that will be true of all of our assistant principals as well. With the health pandemic, you never know what we have in store for us. None of us know. what is facing us, but that our plan is to be there every day. We will still have a full-time school resource officer. He is a Pinellas County Sheriff's deputy, and he is absolutely wonderful with our students. So he will be there, and he is there every day as well. And it was a multi-part question, so I got the first one.
Yeah, and it just going back to the bus transportation, if a child doesn't, eat breakfast at school, but rode the bus, the idea of the mask break, and it's something to consider as we're planning for arrival.
Sure. Mask breaks is something the district has talked about, but we haven't really honestly gotten a lot of specifics on what that looks like. So we want to make sure we do that safely. We want to make sure that wherever we do it, it's in an outdoor area or a space where we guarantee that people are distanced, and that we have supervision from staff in those spaces. So mask breaks sound wonderful, but I honestly don't know what they look like at this point.
And the next question is, when will we know what each student's schedule will be for the 7 periods, and how will we be notified? I can speak to that.
You want to take that one?
Sure, I got it. So yeah, we actually have all but 14 students with a full 7-period schedule already built. I do not believe, I'm pretty sure it's not available for parents to view just yet. The rollover will take place, I believe it's this weekend, but I don't want you to quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. With things moving back, the start date moving back, they may extend that a little bit too. And with the shifts and change that we're going to have to be making to master schedule, they may be putting pause on that just for a little while. In terms of being notified, we will obviously continue to do our call outs, and we will obviously continue to do our post on the social media platforms that we use, as well as our web page and things like that to notify parents. And you can always just log in to your parent portal and focus yourself and continue to look for that schedule as it becomes available. So just make sure you're paying attention to those phone calls and stuff like that.
Yes,
next question. Go ahead.
And just to echo what Mr. Forbes says, I'm diligent about sending a weekly message via phone call and email. Make sure your information is up to date in Portal, because I pull the phone numbers and emails from Portal. Right now, I'm also taking the script of it. Last night's message, I put the full script on the website. I heard from a few parents who said the message came out garbled. So if you didn't get to read the entire message last night, there was a lot of information. It was very long. It might be better to read it, and it's on our website. Also, like us on Facebook. I don't really need the likes for my self-esteem, but that's another platform that a lot of parents are attuned to, and it's a great place to get your information. And often there's more information there than even in the call-outs, because there are links to other sites with information.
And so what happens if there's a confirmed COVID case at school?
All right, well, this was just addressed in the town hall meeting. Basically, the district has developed a COVID team that is a group of liaisons between the district and the health department. The health department will be leading any decisions about how we react as a school to a rumored or confirmed COVID case. So they will be advising us. I'm understanding it may not always be a full school closure if there is a confirmed case. What they're going to try to do is zero in on which classrooms were affected, which areas were affected, where the student sits in the seating chart, where the student sits in the cafeteria. So it'll be a dialogue between the school and the health department, and then any decisions and communication that come out will be shared with the parents, probably by myself as the principal.
And that quarantine will happen, they'll just switch over to Canvas unless they're sick and can't attend. Is that correct, Mr. V?
Yes, and that goes back to the superintendent's message that we want to be able to pivot. So if there is a need to quarantine students or a group of students or a teacher, then the Canvas option is there and can be used in place of being face-to-face.
Next question is specific to sports. There's no sports tryouts at this point.
Correct. Actually, that was addressed in the town hall also. The FHSAA is the governing body, the Florida High School Athletic Association. Middle school is also attached to that, even though it's called high school. They met as a board and they agreed statewide that practices can begin on July 7th. However, our district and some of the other local districts, because of our current health situation and the data around COVID-19, have determined that we will not have any practices in our district. So none of our football teams or volleyball teams are engaging in practice. And so that trickles down to middle school at this time also. So that will be something that we will communicate if and when that is available for the athletic opportunities for students.
And I believe that's everything that I see in the chat. Yeah, I don't see anything. There are families saying, Mr. V, that they get your phone calls, that they appreciate your phone calls and keep them coming. So,
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
One thing that was not asked this time, but I think it's worth mentioning, we did have some parents ask earlier about honoring IEPs and 504s and the needs of our ESOL population that choose the MyPCS option. And the answer is yes, we are going to honor your child's needs. The reason that they have those additional accommodations is so that they have a level playing field and can be just as successful as any other student on our campus. And it is our every intention to make sure that those needs are met as well.
Yes. So if the student is granted additional time by their 504 or their IEP, that will be granted whether they're in a virtual environment or a face-to-face environment. If they're supposed to have a copy of the class notes provided to them, that will be provided. If they are supposed to have a support teacher, they will have a support teacher assigned to their face-to-face classroom and to their virtual classroom, and that person will be responsible in the classroom. They would be taking them aside to work with them and support them. So virtually, they would set up a time to work with them also independently.
again, I don't see anything else in the chat at this point.
All right.
All right.
Oh, got a few things coming in. So the video didn't show books or backpacks. So that is correct. We will be allowing, however, we will be allowing students to carry backpacks. They will not be utilizing lockers. And Ms. Dolan, you may have mentioned this, but a significant number of our textbooks actually are digital textbooks. And even when we're adopting textbooks, we may have hard copies that students have within the classroom, but they do have digital versions of those, and those textbooks can be accessed through the Students Clever platform. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, and the reason the students didn't have backpacks and books in the video is they're part of our R club and they don't bring books and backpacks to our club. So we just pulled them out of our club to shoot some videos on Tuesday, I think. So, yeah.
And next question is specific to if my student chooses the MyPCS online, how will they take test?
Oh, yeah, that is a good question.
Yes.
Okay, so it is based on district directive. We have every intention of offering every assessment that we can online. So if your child chooses the online option, their reading inventory, the diagnostic test for math, all the tests that they need to take for school will all be done online. The only exceptions to that at this time are the PSAT test and the FSAs at the end of the year. Those are the only tests that we have been told they have to be done face-to-face. Everything else will be done online. One of the things that our teachers are going to go through when they come back as far as preparing for that online environment is they're going to learn how to proctor a test in a virtual environment, have all the students have their cameras on and facing them, whether it be times, whatever it is that they need to do to make sure that the kids are giving us good information. Because remember, the reason that we give assessments is not to give them a gotcha, it's not as much for us as educators. It's not about the grade. It's about where are you and where do I need to get you. So anything that we can do to make sure to honor the honesty of that, that's what we want to do. But it is not our intention to say, okay, well, you have a test next Friday, so you have to come on campus for that. With the exception of those end of year FSAs and the PSAT, every assessment that we give face-to-face will be available for the students to take online.
Our next question that I see, and I'm making sure I'm not overlooking something, how will behavior problems be handled and will there be detention?
Absolutely fantastic question.
So, well, behavior problems will still be handled. There will still be disciplinary referrals. That's one that we are still hashing out the logistics of how that works. In the past, the teacher would send a student to the office. Right now, we're thinking that might not be the best way to handle things. We might have to have a member of the staff go and pick them up from the classroom because we don't want students to end up wandering and not making it to the office. So those are issues. There will be detention, yes. We typically handle that as a lunch detention with a separate seating area during lunch. So that would be something that we probably could still institute. We have an in-school suspension room. That is something that will still take place. It will have to be socially distanced. And there will still be suspensions and other consequences that take place. So behavioral consequences will still happen at our school.
Again, no, I don't see any other questions at this point. If I've overlooked something, let me know.
What do you mean by manual tests?
Correct.
Please? Paper. Okay, so until we go digital, one of the directions that we were given as far as handling paper is we want to minimize the use of paper as much as possible. When we do get the devices, we'll be able to have more assignments turned in virtually. For now, what they're suggesting is that the teacher handle those papers as little as possible, and make sure they wash their hands before they touch those papers so that they're not contaminating the papers. And then as soon as they finish grading all of the papers, to wash their hands again. So that's how the district is currently asking us to handle that until, again, when we get those devices out to our students and we're able to use those, then the students will be able to turn their work in digitally.
And the next question, how often will there be bathroom breaks during traditional school, and will students sanitize hands in between classes?
So unlike elementary school, bathroom breaks are handled during the transition of classes. Students have 4 minutes between classes, so that will be their time to use the restroom and wash their hands. And so that will be the expectation.
And we definitely recommend if you to send your child to school with hand sanitizer. There will be hand sanitizing stations as much as we possibly can. But if you can get a little portable thing of hand sanitizer and send it with your child, please, by all means, they will be allowed to carry it. We're not going to confiscate their hand sanitizer. We want them to have that and be washing and cleaning their hands as often as they feel that they need to, and hopefully as often as they need to.
I don't see any further questions. Just kidding. They're coming in every once in a while. So will temperatures be taken each morning?
No, that was addressed in the district plan and in the district town hall just a few minutes ago. It was determined by the doctors that the district had a team of doctors, pediatricians. They consulted in creating the plan. The pediatricians find that temperature is not a consistent and viable measure for children. So children do not always show with temperature as COVID positive. So it's just not a consistent measure. So there will not be temperatures taken. There was also concern with middle schoolers, many of whom walk, more likely run to school in the morning, and then they arrive at the door and they're overheated and sweaty, and that might throw off the temperature reading as well. So there will not be temperatures taken. It'll be actually in the plan. It is up to the parent to assess their child and keep them home if they are not feeling well. And if they're exhibiting the COVID markers that I think we all well know, temperature, loss of taste, loss of smell. You've been hearing a lot about that on the news.
Bathroom breaks during PCS online, or will they be a little more flexible with that? So,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Just try to have them do it when it's not during those first few minutes of direct instruction. You know, if they get their assignment and they need to go use the restroom, by all means, go use the restroom. But if we can just like make sure as much as possible they're getting that direct instruction, that time in front of the teacher, it shouldn't be more than 15-20 minutes at the maximum that they're getting that specific targeted instruction. But other than that, yeah, if your child is working from home and they have to go, they have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the online schedule for Friday, I think Ms. Dolan, you've mentioned this a couple of times. If you want to just recap real quick,
Sure.
I know what.
So Friday's schedule is going to be, there will be assignments due for every class, but there won't be as much direct instruction on Friday because we want to leave that time open for those that need more individual and targeted assistance. So the direction that we've been given most recently is that Monday through Thursday, attendance during the first 10 minutes, they have direct instruction from their teachers at the beginning of class, but on Friday, it's more of a work day. It's, okay, we've spent the entire week working on this topic, this skill. So now on Friday, I'm giving you something that you need to complete, or you and your group, because there will be group projects for some things. We're going to try to, as much as possible, have our students collaborating and working together online. So Fridays will be that opportunity for them to do a little bit more of that independent self-paced work. And as long as they've checked into their classes, just like they did in the fall, Fridays is the one day where attendance is, as long as you've checked in and done your work for that class for the day, you do get your attendance.
And just the next question, can students sign into the next class ASAP within the 4 minutes of class change? And Absolutely. I mean, as soon as they can get logged out of one and into another, just transition from team to team and meeting to meeting, they absolutely can do that. If we choose in school, will there be an orientation before school for sixth graders? So Mr. V, I think you spoke to that. So I'll just
Yeah,
let you.
it would likely be virtual. The issue is not with the students. The issue would be with bringing the parents on campus with them as well, as we would do for a typical open house. And we typically pack the entire cafeteria, wall-to-wall people, with about 200 students, plus they're bringing parents and grandma and siblings. And so we won't be able to have an event like that. So right now we're working on producing some videos. You saw 2 of the videos we produced already. If we do an orientation, we would likely do something along the lines of a campus tour, so the sixth graders know where they're going when they come on campus. So that would be what we would be looking to do in a virtual environment if we're unable to do it face-to-face.
And we do plan to have that out before school starts for our students.
So will there be leniency for the first or second week of My PCS Online so that everyone can get used to the platform? Absolutely. Yeah, much like what we do in a typical, even a face-to-face setting where students are still trying to learn the ins and outs of the building, how to get to class to and from, and the nuances of just navigating a new environment with, other folks and stuff like that. That same leniency, obviously, and that grace will be extended to students online as well, for sure.
Yeah. If we can get them to first period class, everything will be fine. There you go. And that first day, no matter whether or not it's face-to-face, that first day of sixth grade, if we can get them to first period class, and from there, the rest of their day, they'll be guided and they will make it. It is very challenging as parents. I know it because I've lived it twice. You're sending those little fishies to swim for the first time, and they're going to trip and they're going to fall, and it's okay. They will survive and they'll be stronger for it.
And we've got them.
But I know there's a lot of anxiety about the move to middle school, and our teachers, particularly our sixth grade teachers, do a wonderful job of transitioning those students in and orienting them to everything that's on campus. And we realize that we're going to have to be teaching them how to attend school in this environment because it's a very different environment.
We appreciate the sentiments, guys, and we much appreciate. I'm just going through the chat right now and just appreciate you guys saying thank you, because we need to hear that right now. I can tell you our fearless leader, Mr. Vassallo, has done an incredible job staying in contact with us, keeping us abreast as an administrative team of what's going on, and more than that, even families, I would argue. He's done an incredible job with that, and our staff as well. And kudos to our staff who have been engaged in a lot of voluntary opportunities that I think Mr. Vassallo, you said today 80% of them or so are just chiming into these conversations as well, and it's been great to have their input and stuff. So we appreciate your sentiments, guys.
Mm-hmm.
If theater will not be on My PCS Online, will not be a My PCS option online, what will students be able to take in its place? Well, I'll speak to that from a scheduling standpoint. At this point, every student on our campus has a 7-period schedule. So if we're not able to offer it at all, then obviously they stick with their 7-period schedule. If it's not able to be offered online, which I don't foresee us not being able to do that.
Wait, that was a double negative. Try that one for us again.
Okay. I think we should be able to offer it online as well. So I don't think that'll be an issue. If we're offering it face-to-face, we're going to offer it as an option through My PCS Online as well. And again, we are trying to make that happen as best we can. Will there be drills? That is something that I don't know anything about. I think it was addressed though.
It was.
Thank you.
Get that one, Mr. V?
Sure. Yeah, that was brought up in the town hall meeting as well. That happened right before this. The word is that as far as tornado drills and active shooter drills, they look like they've built in an exception for us to be able to have those moments once a month, but make them a teachable moment. Not necessarily take all the students and crowd them into one corner of the room for an active assailant drill, or have to go out in the hallway and duck and cover, but more make it an instructional moment where the entire school stops and we teach them about what to do in that event. They've cleared those two. It has to do with the legalese and the lawyers, to be honest with you. They're working with the fire marshal to see what they can do about fire drills as well. Right now, they're thinking they might do parts of the building at a time for a fire drill. So that's all under negotiation. But yes, a lot of these things that we're putting in place based on the CDC guidelines actually go directly against the premises of the safety drills that we run. So we're trying to work through those as we go as well.
I don't see anything at this point unless something pops in. So
Well, we really thank you guys for your time, for coming out and joining us. If you are not sure how to get